everyone, and welcome to On Screen Halloween Edition. I'm your host, Dylan Wright, and I'm here to take you on a journey through film and television. So this week, I want to talk about something Halloween related, and I also want to extend my condolences to those who watched The Walking Dead. I know that season premiere was devastating to all of you, and my thoughts are with you. So this week, I want to talk about a subject that shows up a lot in horror movies, specifically slasher films. And that is the subject of the final girl. So in case you're not aware of what the final girl is, it's usually a trope that's typically in slasher films, that the killer saves this one woman till the end, and then she manages to turn the tables on the killer and becomes the survivor and basically the person who's left to tell the tale of the killer. Some examples of final girl include Laurie Strode from Halloween, Ellen Ripley from the Alien series, Sidney Prescott from the Scream series, Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street. There's just plenty of them out in the horror landscape, and they seem to be popping up quite a bit, especially nowadays with the rise of stronger female characters in films, even though we should have had them for the longest time now. But what I kind of want to talk about today is the concept of the final girl a good thing or a bad thing? Now, in these slasher movies that are usually filled with debauchery and premarital sex, drug use and all of that, along with, of course, the murders, there's usually the one character that doesn't partake in all of these teenage things. They usually aren't having sex with their boyfriend, or they aren't doing drugs with everybody else. And that's typically who the final girl ends up being. I mean, of course, this is not always the case. There's always, some exceptions to the rule. But it's usually the girl that isn't doing all the stuff that is considered taboo in the adult society. And the killer could kind of be seen as a punishment for those kids who decide to stray from the flock and not be, these chaste, sexless kids that have fun and sing Kumbaya around the circle. And within slasher movies, they're not really considered the best thing in regards to female empowerment, as it usually has a dominating male figure like your Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, who cuts down a young, demure woman with a knife, or something that could be considered something else if you decide to go into symbolic territory. But one can say that the final girl is about women taking back their agency, stopping this dominating male figure from, taking control of her body and violating her in ways that she does not wish to be violated. And it's about kind of turning the tables on something that could be seen almost as a rape as much as a murder, and using that against the killer. You could also see it in a way that she perpetuates the violence by killing the killer and keeps the cycle going, which is, of course, the negative way to look at it. So it's really tough to determine what the final girl in the place of quality pictures really is. I mean, you have your typical, not typical final girl, but often cases, especially in the early 70s and 80s when slasher films started to get big, you have the final girl that runs away in terror and screams and yells, and then she just kind of gets like a lucky shot on the killer or something like that. But you also have your characters like Ellen Ripley, who ultimately kind of decides to take the fight to the killer, or the girl from, I think it was The Last House on the Left, that decided to turn the tables on her captors and really take the fight to them. So, I mean, those could be seen as positive female role models in a genre that is typically male-oriented. You don't see too many females going, oh, I want to go see the next slasher movie and see a girl get her head chopped off. It's typically been a genre that's associated with a male-dominated audience. I mean, not to say that women can't see slasher movies. It's just slasher movies are typically aimed towards a male audience with the gratuitous nudity and the ultra-violence, and they want their demographic to be mostly 18 to whatever men. But the fact that they have this female survivor that goes up against the killer who most people are cheering for, if you're a real sicko, it's interesting that they decided to do that, and I guess that could be seen as a positive in a way. And one of my favorite final girls is Sidney Prescott from the Scream film. I mean, she is such a powerful character who decides, I'm not going to be terrorized by this killer that is trying to torment me and break me down and ultimately kill me. I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm going to fight back, and I'm going to take this killer or killers down. That's not to say that makes up for the slasher movies that kind of objectify women more so than most other movies, but it's definitely a step in the right direction to empower one of them and ultimately make one of them the survivor. However, there's still way too much nudity than is really necessary in these kind of films. I mean, you could do a slasher movie without showing a topless girl in literally every 10 minutes of the film. Scream did a pretty good job of that. I always come back to Scream because Scream is one of my favorite movies of all time, but Scream did a pretty good job of that. I don't really remember too much nudity in there, but that was mostly because it was kind of a panache on horror films in a way. It kind of flipped the switch and kind of was making fun of some of the stuff that was really cliche and overdone in horror movies, and it was very self-aware, and that was something that was really good. But the final girl is definitely something that has its positives and its negatives, but it's a concept that could be used for the betterment of movies and female characters within movies. It's a step in the right direction, definitely, within horror films and especially slasher films. Now it's time for my Netflix pick of the week, and since it's Halloween, I decided that I'm going to do a horror movie and a horror series. So my first pick is a movie that I recently watched maybe a couple months ago, and I was really blown away by the visuals in the movie, as well as how it kind of turned the vampire narrative towards a different path. And that's A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's a foreign film, so there will be subtitle reading. I'm very sorry for those of you who hate reading during movies. But the movie is so visually stunning. It's almost more like a spaghetti western than a horror movie. The way that some of the shots are set up and how certain shots linger on certain people and just the blocking of it all. It's really just a beautiful black and white movie. And it's also got some pretty creepy and terrifying stuff in it. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's a really fun movie and definitely something different to watch. Now, my Netflix TV show pick of the week is a show that is one of my favorite shows of all time, and I cannot rave enough about it. I could probably do basically 10 episodes on this show alone, podcast-wise, if I wanted to keep it short. But the show that I want to recommend for this week's Netflix Pick of the Week is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It starts off as a pretty cheesy kind of horror series, but it has a really cool concept where it kind of flips the final girl narrative on its side. It has the female character Buffy being like this powerful and ultra strong slayer that could take out these vampires, and it turns her from, victim to hero. And it's typically the person that you would see, knocked off in a horror film in the first 10 seconds. But they managed to make Buffy the main character and such a strong and powerful character. And it's really one of my favorite shows of all time, and I cannot recommend it enough. That and its spinoff Angel is so good as well. So that's my Netflix TV pick of the week. So that's going to be it on this special Halloween episode of On Screen. I hope you guys stay safe if you decide to go trick-or-treating, and I hope all of your costumes come together the way you want them to. And as always, if you have any suggestions for any future topics on the show that you want me to discuss, please comment on the video and let me know. I really want to hear your guys' ideas, and I want to talk about what you guys want to hear. And I'll leave you guys on a quote from Billy Loomis. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative. So until next time, take scare. But seriously, until next time, take care.